Hello, Omniverse. I am Joe Bear.
I'm Zach.
And I'm Diego.
And this is Behind the Beard.
Or lack thereof.
And welcome to this week's episode where we hope that each conversation helps spark an idea, a thought, or help your journey to be a better you as we are trying to do the same every week. And today, we're completing our series about communication. While the series is completing, communication never stops. And in fact, in today's business world, it's so fast-paced, effective communication is more important than ever. And this is especially true when it comes to communicating upwards with executives. In this episode, we'll explore the challenges of communicating with executive leaders and offer tips and strategies for overcoming those challenges. We'll also discuss the role of communication in driving success outcomes for organizations, small and large. Join us as we delve into the world of communication with executive leaders.
But before we get there, I think there's just topics that are currently trending or maybe some hot takes that are out there. I know one thing that I was like scrolling on TikTok aimlessly. I do it. It's me. Too many hours. I'm not going to share how many hours in a week I may spend there. But hour of communication this week. There was a taco shop where the daughter posted a video that was getting no business, and she's just like, this is what happens every day. My mom just waits for a customer to come in. Like, I wish I could give her that for Christmas or something along those lines. And within days, the video went viral. Over 38 million views, 6 million likes, almost 70,000 comments, and from no business to we'll be ready for you in a couple of hours or 2 to 3 hours. People driving 5 to 10 hours just to show up for this woman in her shop. So I think that's like one of those feel good, like they're still good in this world. And it was a 10-second video that boom, all this happened. So
it's the power of communication. It's the power of a simple and effective message itself, right? Just watching the video here recently, I felt for her, and she was like ready to go and ready to deliver. You could tell it was a new shop, new stuff. She was ready to deliver for her customers. And sometimes that time to come in, it just takes a while. So, using the power of social media to really exasperate the issue. I know probably the most popular one out there is Mr. Beast, and what he's been able to do with opening up pop-up shops, and I think it was Mall of America, and having 10,000 people, miles long lines. But it shows it can be done for even local restaurants that are needing customers, right? And who doesn't love a good taco? This in fact, inspires me to reach out to some of the local taco shops I have. Maybe they need the power of a great message. I don't know
if they want to talk about it.
I do want to taco about it.
I also think it's great to show that transparency and the admission of failure that we have talked about in this series of communication, right? Because that was kind of like what she did there, right? Posting that short video showing the empty taco shop. Like, not everybody will be open to do that or be willing to do that. Most of us, what we want to broadcast is our success and how good we are at what we do and how well life is going for us. And we've talked about it also on Instagram influencers and the photos and the reels and getting the right picture and all that kind of stuff. And this one was just like, hey, it's not working. Can you help me? Sometimes that's all the message you need to say.
Yeah, 100%. It's like the vulnerable, like, because in that moment, is somebody going to think, is this going to go viral? Or people are going to be like, well, it's empty for a reason. Like, it's just like that innate type of deal. So amazing that it shot off. So that's what was on my mind for the week. But what's on your?
I have a follow-up question to that for both of you. If you decide you're going to go out for a night, nice meal, wherever, explore and try something new, right? That fear of the unknown. And you drive up, you pick somewhere on Google Maps or Apple Maps, and you say, okay, this is the decent reviews on there, but you pull up and the shop is empty. Do you go in or do you find somewhere else?
I guess it would depend on the atmosphere and how it looks and what is around it. I'll be totally honest. I mean, if it's just like dark, looks a little scary to me, and there's like nobody there, and it's like there's no lit area around, and it's just kind of by itself, I might be like, that's suspicious, that's weird. and carry on. But if I see like, oh, there's people standing waiting for, okay, cool, I'll be there. I mean, I don't think it's any much different than going in when a restaurant opens and you're the first guest, if you think of it that way. Done that.
Fair point. What about you, Diego?
Yeah, I guess if the reviews are good and like I don't know, there are good pictures of the food somewhere, maybe under Instagram or on Google Maps, I might give it a shot. Maybe it's a quiet day for whatever reason. But if it's just empty and I don't know, like the atmosphere, what Zach just said, if it's not good atmosphere, I'll just look for another place.
Yeah, and I struggle with this one. And I guess it's who I'm with. I guess I'm pretty ambitious when it comes to food. And if it's kind of dark and it's kind of sketch looking, but the food could be the best food I've ever had in my life, great. I'm gonna go try it, right?
So you're a food risk taker is what you're saying.
I would do it, but if I had my daughters with me, yeah, totally, we'll go find somewhere else. So I think it's about context, like you said, but yeah, I want the hidden holes in the wall with the best food I've ever tried in my life, for sure.
You mentioned Mall of America during your little segment there about the Mr. Beast or whoever he was. I will be honest, I don't know who he is, but not the point I'm getting to, but in Mall of America, they had their huge Lego displays and things like that. I know that you were mentioning something that Lego's doing that they've never done before.
Yeah, the great segue there, Zach. So I'm a bit of a Lego fan. I always have been. I always enjoyed it as a kid, building them, following the directions, getting
just not stepping on them.
Well, as an adult, I've gone anti-Lego because I have stepped on too many of them. It just seems they're the worst booby trap in the world. But anyway, Lego is offering its tallest set yet. It's an Eiffel Tower replica consisting of 10,001 pieces, and it's over 5 feet tall, or nearly 5 feet tall. What would you guys ever have a 5-foot tall Lego statue in your house?
No, I don't have place for it.
No, I don't have patience for putting things together. I mean, I never was a Lego kid. Like assembly is not fun for me, and it's not fun for people around me. So, it's like when you think of it as an adult now, it's like IKEA is like the adult Legos. I mean, you go to IKEA and you have to put in like, I don't know, a stool somehow has 70 pieces with 2 pages of instructions that skip from A to Z and back and forth. But yeah, no, I'm gonna pass on that. I'm not a Legoer.
Actually, just reminded me of a story, and there was this dog house that some designer did, and it was like do-it-yourself kind of thing. Go and cut it on laser and build it yourself. And in the middle of the pandemic, my wife and I got the plans, got it laser cut, and started building it and all. And we did build it. It was huge. Like my dog is a pug, but it's still like she could fit inside and had enough space to move around and stuff. It was a dog house, but we didn't have anywhere to put it. So I just thought about that. And then like it lasted a week, and then we just put it back into the box and never took it out again. I think it's stored somewhere there, but nice project to entertain us for a couple hours in the middle of lockdowns, but yeah, not worth it.
Yeah, I mean, I like the project of it all, right? And you get to see that accomplishment. I think that's what always drove me with Legos, Connects, all of that stuff. You build it and that instant gratification of, yeah, I built this, right? And then, Zach, I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum. I enjoy putting IKEA stuff together. I mean, it's super fun. Like, you don't need all the instructions because it's built to build itself, quick and easy, I think. But, it just makes sense. It's easy to do. Yeah, that's a good one. But speaking of building stuff and returning from storage, do you guys know cassettes are back? Sales have doubled with cassettes.
I think this is only something you would just stumble across. I'm just gonna put it out there, because outside of I don't even know that. I was gonna say outside of I don't know, but I do not know that cassettes are back.
I don't understand it. And so when you see something like that, I gotta jump in and go, why? It was probably the first and foremost question. Why would we ever do that again? I understand, the vinyl, it's the audiophile, so it's the best way to listen to anything. But in today's day and world, streaming is just there. It's easy. It's super convenient, and I don't even have a Walkman anymore to put the cassette in. And I don't want to have to get out a pencil to wind it up or anything. I don't know, but they're back, guys. Sales are doubling. Let's get on this trend, and
Okay.
let's bring back the cassette.
Sales are doubling. So 5 were sold last year, 10 are sold this year.
Surprisingly, I got the figures right here: 173,000 cassettes in 2020 and 343,000 in 2021. Growth like that is something that only Omni Interactions has seen.
To all our listeners, Behind the Beard season 1 coming in cassette at some point. And once we're done with season 2, you'll be able to get that one too.
Sales will go to 344,000 maybe.
Love it. I want to know is, do they even sell like recording devices for cassettes anymore? Or you have to have the specialty made and have it laser cut, build yourself. I don't understand it. But it's here, it's back. Everything comes around. Now, speaking of things that come around, did you guys, either one of you, ever played Pogs as a child?
I didn't know how to play them, but I had them.
Okay. Had those in storage, and I'm ready for them to take off. Like, I was hoping they would take off during the pandemic, and so I could finally get my money back, but that didn't happen. Do you think it will ever happen?
I don't know how to play them, like I said, but I would go to like little pawn shops and stuff, and I don't know, probably 10 or under, and I would just find cool ones and just buy them. I'm sure they're in a dumpster or something. I don't have them still, but yeah, I'd just be like, oh, that's a cool design, buying that one. I don't even know what I would do with them.
Nobody knew. That's a fair one. If you knew how to play Pogs, please let us know.
You are an elite.
btb@oiteam.com.
Hashtag elite. But you talk about all these things coming back, and then you have all these amazing new things that are happening that I never could think would even be feasible. I know we're talking about it a lot internally, but this chat GPT and AI writing your emails and giving you tips and tricks before you're, stepping into a meeting, or you're struggling to even motivate yourself and it can motivate you, just all through the power of AI. Insane. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I've been a big fan, even from the beginning. We talked about, the AI for art before on a previous episode of We're In, We're Out. I think it's cool, but I understand like the conundrums that come with art itself. I think, the Chat GPT and others like Writer, definitely they're allowing it's more of an answer database. You got Google, which is, a search database where it pulls up the sites. You still got to do that. But, really what this Chat GPT is, you're asking it a question and it's giving you an answer from an answer repository, from simple things of, what do we talk about this week on Behind the Beard? And great, here's some thought pathways that gets the mind going. I am 100% in, taking some of the light work, so to speak, of the repetitive tasks, the email creation, the summarization of blah, 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 right? Could we offload that work and we can stay focused on the creative problem solvings, and how do we blend that into today's technology? I'm 100% in. What about you, Diego?
I'm also in. I just did a post on Instagram a couple of days ago. I don't know if you've seen Lensa, which is this app that creates portraits based on your selfies. And it's super accurate and it makes you in different styles and stuff. So I posted mine and basically put out this message that technology is a tool. It's always been a tool, like even for cavemen, they had their own technologies and their own tools. And we as humans have always used those tools to make more complex tasks easier. So all of these AIs, all of these chatbots, all of these different tools that we can use, the human factor is still important because it needs an input, right? And we use that also to create some of the content that we use in interactions, to create outlines for blog posts, to help us review how we're writing with Grammarly, for example. We use that also in our emails and everywhere. So I think it just makes it easier for us to work and to come up with better ideas, to be better at what we do. So I'm all in too. I'm all in for technology, and AI?
What about you, Zach?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just the time to use something when you're stuck for me. Or just even out of boredom, like you have a few minutes between something and you're just kind of throwing something out there. I'll be honest, I haven't used it in a sense of like writing something explicit for me to gain some ideas. Yes, that's been great. But yeah, interested to see how I can go. I'm definitely just interested to see how I can utilize it to its max for me. I think it's different. It's gonna be different for everybody on how you can really push yourself to use it to make the most benefit. So yeah, I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I might go back into, the digital learning world, and, we're using it for content itself and creation. I mean, you look into, okay, how do we get subtitles going from a video like this? Well, I'm not very good at transcription. There are people that are amazing out there that can do it really fast, but if we can get, that accuracy level up, I mean, I know we've been working on that for years. From a technology standpoint, I think like dragging text to speech, 20 years ago, and it was like, this is terrible, but now it's like, wow, this is pretty good. And now you can start writing it out and then have AI actually read it for you. And now we're improving our voices. One AI that really caught my eye was Synthesia. And it really, you can take your own face, input it in here, your own voice, and input it in there, and have the AI start to replicate you on the video itself. I mean, that's scary. It's awesome. It's scary awesome. But I think if it helps us put this content together so we can learn quicker, we can find what's working as an organization, as a humankind, and we can move this forward and keep our ideas flowing instead of getting stuck in this task world. I think it's all for the better. And we're going to get more creative. We're going to solve bigger and better problems here in the very near future. Well, those are exciting topics. If you have any hot takes on those, please reach out to us at btb@oiteam.com. But I would like to jump into our conversation today. And it's, we've gone through our communication series of just how to communicate, from extreme ownership to how to talk to clients, customers, and, now taken our first step last week into a leadership role, a frontline leadership role. And now once you're in that leadership role, how do you communicate upwards? And business language can be a little bit different than speaking to a customer, a peer. And so what are some good guidelines and processes and pathways that we could really dive into this one and help out our future communication? And then I see here from that point, it actually reverberates back to everything else that we've been speaking about of how to improve what we're doing. If I had to ask, Zach, what would be your starting point of, okay, now that I'm a frontline leader, what are those things that I'm going to have to think about now that I probably didn't have to think about before?
On the path of a communication series, I have higher accountability and I have higher responsibility than I did prior, right? And how am I going to, one, control that? But two, how am I now going to be able to speak to more than just my own? And when I say that, I'm no longer, representing myself and what I was doing before, whether I was on the phones, whether I was, working, front service or something along those lines. I'm now representing others, and their work is representing, us as a collective. So it's the pieces of that, and I think it's taking the time to, I know time's not always allowed, right? Sometimes you're put on a front line and you just gotta execute, but I think it's just taking that time to practice and understand what's expected of your delivery in that role.
Be prepared. As we're looking at these topics or whatever you're asked to be speaking about, and a lot of times within the call center world, we'll kind of relate that there. It's talking about metrics or challenges that are out there, or we have a new pathway from with our client that we need to go solve for their customers, and how do we communicate that change? How do we communicate what the new topic is, or what is really going on out there? And I think that you hit the nail on the head. We got to start by being prepared, right? It's no longer where I'm an expert of execution on the front line. I need to be prepared to speak to the broader context of the challenge itself, and thinking about okay, here's how it impacts not just one, but many, and here's how customers are going to react to it as well. And then here's our anticipated results from the change and what we're changing to kind of overcome that challenge in front of us. But I think we really need to get to the point where you got to get to the point, right? Up front. I know from a challenging point is time for all of us in this day and age. We're moving so fast anymore. And I think one of the hardest parts of making that transition from a frontline leader to speaking up, well, it's beyond the nerves, right? We all get super scary, it's just titles, but and they're just human beings. But it's just that natural fear we talked about of, okay, well, what's our natural leadership technology, or not technology, but pathway? And it's, we see what our parents do it my way or else. And so we have that authoritative scareness behind us. So we just got to be upfront and to the point, right? So get over the nerves and then just get it out there, get to the main point. A lot of presentations and communications will build up to the main point, but I feel that it's always best to just give for the reason for the meeting or the communication up front, and then it starts that conversation on this is what we're focused on, instead of circling around it, and now I landed to the point I was trying to get to.
Yeah, I think as a frontline leader, what you become is kind of like a link that's connecting the two sides, right? And how efficient that linking is the most important part. Because yeah, you need to deliver the message clear and on time. So most of the times that's going to require you to be prepared and know how to talk to each of the sides that you need to talk to, right?
It's easy to fall into the fluff when you're getting into a leadership role, even if it's you've been there before and you're in a new organization and you've moved up again, or maybe it's your first time as a front leader. Any of those circumstances, it's hard to slow down and say, wow, I am, like, I call it word vomiting, right? You get asked a question from somebody that's at a higher level than you are, and like we said, we try to think of everything as like a flat work, right? But there are higher responsibilities even in a flat org. I mean, you have people that are in a higher power, and they may need to get an answer from you to report to a client or report to somebody that they are working alongside of. And using that clear and concise language is crucial to not, like I said, word vomit, because you're not getting to the point. You're going around all these side stories and all these things, and a lot of times people are wanting a quick answer because they're having to report on something ASAP. So I think that is one piece as you're going into this position, is knowing your language, having the ability to speak effectively and slow down at the same time, right? Just don't go around in circles like I do at times.
I think it's a natural human. I do it as well. Everyone does it. And, that's why communication and the learning about communication never stops. But this is a good point of what you brought up there. And I think where you were circling around is why you need an executive voice, right? The whole, I am a leader, I am confident, I am understanding of what's happening there. It's what you say, how you say it, when you say it, and to whom you say it, and just ensuring that it has the proper context to the situation, right? Where it's not, as you said, the stories in the circles. We all want to dance around the hard message at time, but bad news doesn't get better with time, as our leadership here at Omni says. So let's just get it out there, and now let's work on the challenge ahead of us because of that bad news. But it's avoid the jargon. I say that in writing all the time. As we're presenting something, no contractions, no company jargon, no client jargon. You've got to spell out everything. Because I think that a lot of things that are forgotten is from our frontline leaders, and from any organization. I've done it myself a lot, is a leader within a company may not understand that, right? Because it's not their wheelhouse of where they're working day in and day out. We may be serving 10, 20, 30 accounts and understanding these bigger projects going on there, and your slice of the pie, which is your whole world, but how do you communicate that out, right? So it's be prepared with the questions, be specific, and honestly, just be transparent towards the bad news, right? Don't beat around the bush, just deliver it. No one likes bad news, but we all like to solve challenges. So sugarcoating it doesn't help anything. It just jeopardizes your credibility and integrity. just consider this. If you're hitting roadblocks, they may be there to assist you in breaking these down. That's their role. That's their life. They want to help, right?
And don't be scared to post that video of your empty taco shop. And I think another important piece here is how organized you are with the information you have and how you're communicating it, right? So sometimes that might mean you need to prepare and you need to write things down and maybe even rehearse a couple times before starting to talk to, especially to somebody on an executive position who will have a lot less time and will want to hear it straight out. So it's not like this episode where we're recording and we can then edit it and edit out whatever we said and we didn't want it to make it. But just you have to be prepared, be organized, and know the structure in which you're going to communicate.
And I'm kind of beating around to it with a lot of the things that we're saying here, but confidence is key. I think we've heard that phrase probably throughout our lives in many different scenarios, outside of communication, outside of presenting. Power and confidence is, I might be saying something totally off. Like I might be asked a question and I am way over here with my answer, but I'm confidently wrong. Like you're owning your answer to your problem, to your question, to your challenge. And it shows others that, hey, I'm owning this, right? Like in my communication, yep, I just messed up and I totally missed the point of that question, the point of that task, but I own it. I'll go back and I'll fix it. And I'm going to tell you how I'm going to fix it. But throughout this whole time, I'm still confident that I can resolve and I can recover. And that's the biggest piece. Confident isn't always just being right. It's knowing that you are able to speak to your business. And if you're a frontline leader, your business is people and your, all those around you.
So question to the two of you. You are two of the most confident people I know. What are what will be some advice on how to build that confidence?
I don't want to say the whole phrase like fake it till you make it, because I feel like that's it has some different context to it. I will say I be totally vulnerable. I have a lot of confidence issues, right? Like I'll be totally honest and vulnerable for a moment. I do, but I've taught myself through time that you have to just go for it. And if you don't go for it, then, like your hat says, Diego, like just do it, right? If you don't have that mentality, then you're not going to be in a place where you're heard, where you're valued, and where you make a difference. And I think that's where I focus on is how can I make the difference? How can I get the job done? And do I sound great while I'm doing it? And that's kind of what powers me to be confident is how, I don't want to say it's perception of others because I don't want to get down that route of, always caring about what others see of you. But I want to have a conversation or have an interaction and somebody say, that was what Zach said was really good, or, oh, that inspired me. Even if it's just one time in a week or one time in a, situation, that tells me like, okay, this makes sense.
I love everything that you're saying, Zach. And, I think one of the areas that you really hit on is your vulnerability. And if I really go back and watch kind of your growth and development is you have been open to feedback, right? And that's not always easy to be heard, right? Especially as you're trying to build that confidence in who you are, but it's okay to hear that messaging of, ooh, yeah, I wouldn't go down that road again, right? And you're like, okay, great, duly noted, and I'm going to put that forward. I've gone down the wrong pathway. I can't tell you too many times. It's a iteration of ours here is fail fast, iterate fast. That's one of my favorite phrases out there because I need to fail to gain confidence. But I don't even like the term failure. It's either I'm winning or I'm learning. I think is the right mindset for me. And it took me years to come to that, and a lot of great support networks, great people around me to say, you know what, it is okay to make mistakes. You don't have to be perfect every time. I have a little bit of OCD with perfection. It doesn't need to be that way, right? We just, Pareto's law, 80% of the way there, great. We're on the way. We're being very, very impactful to it all. But I think the key to it all is, like Zach said, and your hat says, just do it. You're never going to get over being scared. You're just not. I get butterflies every time we come on to this recording. I'm like, oh gosh, what am I going to say? Diego, that's been a huge growth factor for you. And I can successfully say, I know we only posted so many of these out there, but this is probably close to our 100th episode that I've recorded. And I'm still like, internally beforehand, You got to prep, got to go there. But I think the more I get prepared for this, the more I feel confident in this, that I'm okay to make mistakes along the way. And then getting back, circling way back here to your question, is I learned a long time ago. I had a great leader, one of the first great leaders I've had along my lucky journey and pathway, is your job is to own the problem, to come to me with your challenges and a plan to fix it. So with those plan to challenges, like what are the roadblocks you need me to fix? And that gave me the confidence to go to my leadership team and say, here's the problem, here's how I'm going to solve it, here's what I need from you. Time, money, energy, just your title, your whatever the case is in the previous world, like just throw it here because I'm going to make it work. But I feel this is the best pathway. Have I always been right? No. And that's okay. But I had great support and great leaders along the way that allowed those mistakes to happen for us to grow to where we are today. And it doesn't hurt, just from all of that, I know I've been talking a while, is to have a great client from a past life that asks you to host a live in-person event for thousands of people and to say, don't make a mistake, right? Or have fun, represent our brand for us. That really was the pivotal moment. And when you see the TV cameras like on you, you're like, well, it can't get any worse from here. So that's kind of the pivotal moment in my life there. Now, what about you, Diego? How are you working on your confidence?
I don't know, I think it's that same the phrase from here, just do it. One of my favorite phrases is done is better than perfect. And keep saying that all the time, right? Because yeah, we look for that perfection. We like, at least the three of us, I know we're perfectionists at the end of the day, so we struggle with that. But sometimes just putting things out and just talking and admitting your vulnerability too, I think that's key. And try to be as self-conscious as you can, and try to look at yourself from, I don't know if this makes sense, but try to look at yourself from outside yourself and try to say like, okay, this is what I'm good at, this is what I'm not. And I think I've said this before in this series, but just work on the things that you see as your, I don't know, weaknesses is the best word for it, but kind of the things that you can work on and evolve. And I don't know, I think I'm way below in the confidence scale from you two, but that's what I do, at least.
I think that's probably perception, because when you said that, I will be honest, it took me back a second. I'm like, I don't think I've actually have heard somebody say that I'm confident. So I would say in the same way that you're saying that, I probably have not ever put like those little adjectives like describe yourself, like confident. I don't think I've ever put that there, right? But I know something I just want to throw out there as we're wrapping this kind of communication and episode up, but is you go back to our series prior where it's that 1% better daily, and this goes right into this, right? Like whether you're becoming a frontline leader, you are a frontline leader, maybe you're even a higher leader than that, or you're aspiring to become, you're representing yourself. Don't let your mistakes own you. Own your mistakes and be able to become 1% better on a day-to-day basis. And when you have those moments where you fail, and we don't even want to call it a fail, right? But you have those moments where something doesn't go right, just learn from them and move on. I know it's hard not to live in that moment and live in that rut, as we want to call it. But that would be my biggest kind of advice as we close this out, is use those experiences that maybe don't go as an A+ to become an A+ in the future. I still have moments where I'll listen to an episode of this back and I'm like, oh gosh, I just cringed a little bit. Or I'll end a meeting and I'll be like, oh, I really said that, or I totally butchered that answer. And I like Joe said, I learn from it. And that would be my biggest thing, is communication is always going to be ongoing learning, as Joe said earlier. But yeah, own your mistakes. Don't let your mistakes own you.
Great stuff, Zach. Great stuff, Diego. Thank you too for this great conversation on, just kind of wraps up our series of communication, even though speaking to executive leadership or whatever the case is, or wherever your title is out on the world, it all comes down to the one thing. We're all just human beings, and we all have got a lot to do on our plate. So let's work on our effective communication, as it's more important than ever. As we're wrapping up today in our communication series, I just want to say, this quote, which kind of reminds me of everything that we've really talked about as far as what leadership is. And this is from Klaus Schwab. There are 4 ingredients in true leadership: brains, soul, heart, and good nerves. As always, hashtag keep learning, and let us know what you're learning about too. Please like and subscribe to our channel for more great content. If you'd like to reach out to us, we would welcome you to email us at btb@oiteam.com. Join us next week as we begin a brand new series about skill creation. With that, I am Joe Barron for my co-hosts Zach and Diego. This is Behind the Beard. Hashtag Omniverse to the moon.